Welcome back to Hamburg. Live coverage of ESL One Hamburg 2018 continues from the Barclaycard Arena. It is compLexity versus Evil Geniuses. Game one already in the history books, and it's the boys in blue who have triumphed. But this is a best of three. compLexity have been known for their hard work and grit and determination. We saw that in the group stage, of course, and they're going to need every single bit of that and possibly some more if they're going to overcome their North American brothers in the form of Evil Geniuses. Advantage to the boys in blue, as we've said then. Let's find out why with our panel members. We've got Kyle, Trent and Fogg back with us. Kyle, I also wanted to pick up on the fact that they played the underlord. We didn't get a chance to speak about that before the break. Unusual, don't see it a huge amount these days. S4 looked pretty good on it.
Yeah, I mean, he had a real rough start, but that was to be expected. He did his job in that he kept the tier 2 top alive, and there was that really nice escape vehicle he drove when they had snaking setting up from the side, black hold, but then the whole squad's gone. It's just really well done, and felt like the counter initiation advantage was just always going to be there for EG. Just a very easy game to play when there's no reach on the side of compLexity. You never really threatened, and there's a big butt underlord.
Yeah, nice big taxi service waiting to get them out of any trouble. Only the second time we've seen it for Evil Geniuses since Ginting on land this year, and the first time we've seen it is ESL One Hamburg. Why don't we see it more often? That was a question I had in the break.
It doesn't really fit in anything. It doesn't fit in every draft. It's very rare that you can actually make it work because he's not like a playmaker. He just waddles. Waddles into start stuff. He's just like an aura buyer. You have to have all your other heroes have a lot of team fight to enable him.
There's better waddlers. You got Necrophos, you got Enigma. I would probably take those two heroes like both times. So in this case, that one's banned and the other's picked. So still kind of worked out for S4, of course.
Yeah, absolutely. Did very well. We touched on Crit in the just before the break, obviously having a great game on the Earthshaker again, the 9th consecutive win for them on that. But also, I don't know how relevant this is or not, but it's only the second time they've won with Luna in their last 7 games. That stretches all the way back to DAC. Why is that?
It really isn't the greatest hero unless you have a game like that. It's a carry that it's like deceptively not strong in the late game. You'd think it would do much better, but there's so much more of an emphasis on shoving lanes versus the old school where you could just stack Ancients over and over. You'd see a Luna hit both camps and then all of a sudden it starts snowballing, but there's much more emphasis on team fighting and being able to push lanes. And Luna's super low HP hero, very squishy, and it's nice when there's no threats whatsoever, but usually it's a different game.
I feel like she's one of those heroes people end up getting because the rest are banned too. Right.
It's
Never
the next one on the list.
Gone, and then sometimes you get in a weird situation, so she tends to have weaker games.
So what something Kyle was saying, I just want to focus on for what I want to see from Cole this game is team fighting. I want them to have more team fighters, in particular on their supports.
A bit more brawly.
You know, hindsight's 20/20 and all, but when I do look back and I look that we all, of course, went for Cole, I look at their heroes and I'm just like, they really need to actually just smash the lane super hard because they have Bane Dazzle, which don't contribute pretty much anything into team fights. They throw out a weave. That's probably the best one. Fiend's Grip is going to be really hard in the game when you're playing versus multiple ways to cancel it from a distance.
Well, we said that too, but we put a lot of faith in them.
We did put a lot of faith in them.
You're like, okay, this Invoker game looks pretty good. That's definitely the key hero here. Some mixed damage, some control. Definitely did not come in mind.
Yeah.
So
it was only the second time that they've lost with Invoker in 2018. The other one being against Virtus Pro 2 days ago. And only 6 played in the year. We
also forgot that in a game where Wyvern has no real threat, that hero's still one of the best in Dota, and we saw the OG combo, like my favorite, Wyvern Lina. It's just so easy to make plays. We saw a ton of 2-man Wyvern ults into 2-man Fishers or Lina stuns, and both of those heroes are just dead.
Yep.
So 4 times in that game.
So right away, I think this is better. Yeah, I think this is a better opener.
More comfortable for him?
Just in the grand scheme of things, I think it's like when you're playing these Bane Dazzles or let's say Undying plus Bane or something, you need to have such a successful laning phase for these heroes to actually be able to dominate, because then you're just going to follow your cores around and you enable them.
And I gotta say, I like Enigma a lot. It was a hero I said coming into this tournament would be like the best offlaner, but I don't think you can do this. 2 games in a row now, we're gonna see it first 2 does the second pick squad. I just don't think it's good enough. It's one of those heroes, it's great in a free game, right? But if you play up against 2 or 3 counters, it's not the same whatsoever.
4 heroes to answer with you. Now this is interesting. I've seen a couple games with this Enigma and Axe, and every time I see it, I lose a lot of faith in it, because it feels like the Enigma, of course, naturally wants to pull back the wave. You have these Eidolons and everything, whereas the Axe kind of trends to play a little bit more aggressively, maybe cutting waves and stuff. So sometimes the Axe gets a little bit lost.
It's feels like an easy Necro pick for compLexity. One of their favorites. Axe just has such a hard time playing against that for the entire game.
But you know it's going to be a support Axe already.
Yeah.
True.
But still, I mean, the Necro is Snaking's like, I think his best hero that he's been playing here, personally.
I think you definitely want to take a core here if you're complexity. It's been Z-Freak playing the Phoenix, right?
Games I've seen, yes.
Games that I've seen as well, yeah. I think they had one game where Envy did play, but I can't. I think Envy was, because I think he was playing an Undying with it.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Envy played it in the last game that they lost to Aston.
Okay.
I like that.
AoE focused heroes from EG.
You already have
He
some
also played it
sustain.
in the other game against Forward as well, the group stages. So both times they played it here, it's been with Envy.
I mean, Spectre was nerfed pretty hard in that post-TI patch, but it's still, the core mechanic of the hero is still untouched. And in a game against, like, you're going to be able to cancel Axe Blink consistently, and you're so good against Enigma because you're just on top of them right away. There's nothing you can do to position properly.
Yeah, you talk about counter initiation, how amazing it was last game. It felt like Complexity could never fight because they just never know where the Shaker is, where this Wyvern is, and this is instantly not going to be a problem for them. So
Yep.
I like that. The question now comes back to how are those lanes going to go? Because I thought their lanes were actually kind of decent last game. I mean, you have a Shaker, that's kind of this like almost guaranteed lane win, and it felt like they kind of lost all three almost. I mean, obviously S4 went down, but in the end, that trade didn't feel worth it.
Yeah. I'm glad you pointed out the Spectre. Like the biggest thing for me is, yeah, you cancel the Blink Daggers, but it's the information you give. You know exactly where these heroes are positioned inside of the team fights.
Yep. EG takes out the Lina, Complexity the TV, but still a lot of options for EG. I'm sure they've prepped for the Spectre. You can't watch the series against NIP. I'm sure everyone was watching that series, and there's no way you're unprepared.
What's one of the big ones? Ursa used to be one of the big ones to deal with the Spectre, because you just dominate him in the early game.
I actually think this is already a really sick AMH game.
No control
We've seen
fight
it against Spectre
It's
once.
definitely, he lingers. You know, he's not going to get banned. He's going to be there, so it is something to keep in mind for sure.
Yeah, the big hard count, and that's part of why Spectre's so strong, right? Because the heroes that traditionally counter him are just not in the meta right now. It's Anti-Mage, Jug, Lifestealer. You don't want to play any of those for the most part.
Or it even feels like you just kind of want to play fast in a lot of those games, but that hasn't been the most successful tactic, especially when Drow is being first phased every single game.
And this is the cool, there's another change that happened. I don't remember which patch it was, but I really like that second pick now gets banned into pick in the second phase. It felt like it did a little bit to tweak the balance between the choice selection.
Yeah.
Because second pick used to be like just really bad, in my opinion. This gives you at least like a little bit of a boost. And
Was
of
that
course
right?
the 10th pick is even stronger now.
Was that right before TI?
I think it was. It was like a month or so before. This is like the critical checkpoint, I guess, for a second pick draft because you don't want to lock yourself into something when Complexity still has so many heroes left to go. Probably just going to look to take the fly hero here unless he's going to play the Axe, which is likely.
What other carry heroes do you think for EG? I was thinking maybe the Morpho can still come up.
Yeah, it's possible. I've seen people pick Luna into Spectre a lot too, even though I think the counter goes the other direction. But if you have a game like that on Luna, it pretty much counters everything.
Ban TA, ban Lina. The two safe mids.
Just considering lanes at this point, largely. Trying to figure out exactly how you want to run this Enigma and this Axe. It almost feels like that they should be guaranteed together. But curious if EG feel the same way, or like, is this going to be Fly, or is this going to be Crit? Is this like a higher priority Axe? I would guess it's Crit. And I feel like Fly's going to be getting some other hero, but I mean, you guys have seen the Secret games. There have been some rather wacky support duos going on over there.
Yep, seen a couple of Brew Legion Commander.
That is a Fly hero.
There's a more traditional support.
One of Fly's favorites.
Complexity has to get some sort of aggression. Like now, I really like the way their lineup, like just Spectre against these three EG heroes is very strong already, but you need a finisher. You need to be able to kill the Dazzle and kill the Enigma, because if EG is allowed to just sort of deathball you and keep their orb of power intact, like you can't really win fights, but Spectre Phoenix like already is just going to dominate these team fights if they have the lockdown and the heroes that can kind of just come in and clash.
You want the jumper, like, not only is Spectre very good against heroes like Earthshaker, but you thrive a lot as an Earthshaker player when you have Spectre on your team because that vision allows you to set up.
I was thinking something maybe not here, but later on down the road, maybe a Storm for Cole, because the Spectre gives you the vision of the Dazzle, and you need something to be able to get to the back lines.
Is the Rubik an option here for complexity?
They might Lich. I hope not, but they might.
They've used it a couple of times, haven't they?
They did it with Phoenix yesterday.
The Wyvern still, and I think we saw they were considering it because they don't have a BKB cancel. You can play a greedier position 4 Wyvern too.
It's a pretty good Undying game as well. I think that's possible. But again, like, I'm just fearful. Complexity has this tendency to put a lot of stock into Limp's ability to make rotations, but if he's not playing something like Tiny or Kunkka, there aren't many mids that are able to make moves before 10, 15 minutes. Like we saw the Invoker last game. The laning phase didn't go too poorly, but you're just not online for so long that.
And you don't have Sunstrike either because you're playing this crosswalk. So
the 2 birds on the same team. I feel like we haven't been seeing them both being picked together like at all in this tournament.
Once.
Just once.
Yep.
Okay.
It's a great combo though. They cover each other very well.
It's not your traditional though, right? Because you don't have your melee support with your ranged. It's just these 2 ranged supports that can be really
I think it's fine. It's similar to Wyvern Lina. Like it's a good enough combination that I think you can warrant picking it.
Okay.
Immediate.
I think
Morphling. Yeah.
I
it's
think
a great pick.
It's excellent versus the Spectre. You now have got Wyvern you can turn into. You get your, of course, that super far attack range with the Arctic Burn. And they've already got pressure coming up from the side lanes. I love this Morphling pick.
And there's at least some threat of it still going mid theoretically, with like movement and stuff like that. But for the most part, it should just be the 10th pick here or there for CC and C, we imagine.
I could see Complexity pick a Puck. I think that hero's terrible, but Limp's Puck is very good. They've done it once.
And it works well with Spectre.
Yeah.
It does have like the combo.
Yeah.
You don't need damage necessarily because Phoenix is enough when you add that to a Spectre. It's just how do we find kills, ensure our lanes go well, and specifically answer this Morphling. Because Morphling is, if you get to that stage where you become a hyper carry, like there's nothing Cole can do. You kill the egg incredibly easily, you'll E-Blade combo a Wyvern, 2 shots.
And with the Invoker again.
They want that. All right, this will be Exort though, right? Like they want that Sunstrike versus the Morphling. That's got to be what they're looking for.
But the last game they had the good setup, right? They have the Bane and the Enigma for it. He went for the Quas Wex. This time,
I don't know, guys.
I don't know, guys.
It's good to see some confidence. I can't say I'll have the same confidence this time, but at least they do.
I think EG might have something. They're like, yeah, Invoker's great, but why don't we let them have it?
So who do you guys hate playing against mid and Invoker? Dog, you love
most
Invoker.
edgy heroes.
Every edgy hero.
Most edgy heroes is pretty miserable.
At least you don't have to worry about the PL anymore.
And wait, doesn't Morphling have the ability to just go mid and crush an Invoker too?
Yep.
Just 1 win in their last 4 Wyvern games for Complexity, and just 4 wins in their last 17 with the Phoenix.
I don't see Quinn as a Morphling though, right?
No, but they could put Arteezy on it. There's a lot of
That's
side
true.
laners Quinn can
That is
play.
very true. Yeah. Fair enough.
Arteezy seems to be afraid of mid nowadays. Like never, ever see him there.
Is it so much that, or is it more so that Sumail can just do so much there that it's kind of fine?
That's true. I think I've, what do you say, safe lanes chill, I think is how he describes it, so why leave?
I mean, last game, that was the chillest safe lane I've seen in years.
It's the
Like,
safest chill
Well,
lane.
he was in the off lane, but it became
Well,
the
that's
safe
true,
lane.
right? I mean, the real safe lane.
Is it renamed to the chill lane now, is it?
And that Centaur Warrunner, kind of a classic when it comes to working with the Invoker Sunstrikes. I mean, the other one is Nyx Assassin, but
Yeah, and also just the stun lock. If the Morph doesn't get his strength off, like all of a sudden you're just dead to a Sunstrike immediately.
They need some, I mean, Cole needs something like a Centaur in that off lane. Like right now, it looks very awkward for them to set up. It's a curse, but they don't have that beautiful follow-up, right? Like a curse into the Lina stun like we saw earlier, the curse into a Fissure stun. Right now it's a curse into an Invoker combo, but that's not always the greatest.
And they've picked like Batrider before, right? But at the same time, I don't like that because it's an ultimate dependent hero, and you need a blink.
Good Huskar ban.
You know what? A core ogre would be hyped though.
with
I
the
actually think that'd be
auras,
perfect.
He's nice and buff. Oh, but there's a Morphling, though. That's a pretty sweet target for a Morphling.
That is true. You just need a stun, like
need
for
a stun.
lack of a better word.
I feel like you need AoE, though, too. I mean, I guess you're covered enough with the Phoenix and the Wyvern, but
Right now, you'd once again put all of this emphasis on Limp to just have an incredible game, and I just don't think that's possible when you're already revealed. Like, you can't win a lane against a Morphling, and this last pick is just going to be whatever they feel like best matches you.
was that the camera suggesting Legion? Is that what that was? I mean, that helmet, you know? It's pretty accurate.
That's
Boom, see?
Wow.
The camera is on it. Wow,
camera
they know
does
more than us,
lie,
guys.
Trent.
There, God tier.
Into a
Get that guy on
Dazzle
the panel.
But there's a dazzle though, right?
and
So
an Enigma.
both these
It's
heroes
not,
are very
it's
good
not,
at stopping
it's
the
not, I
duel.
was going to say, it's not a very easy LC game, is it?
No. And this is the thing, it feels like, once again, all the impetus is on complexity to do stuff. And EG can just chill. Like, they're gonna farm, their Morphling Enigma are respectively the strongest heroes in this game. And if they get to a point where complexity can't find an initial kill in the first 5 to 10 seconds of a team fight, like,
I love
Look at the look at
I love the last
reduction.
two picks. The last two picks by EG for me are way better than the last two picks from Cole.
we're gonna need an incredible performance by Scamberloo, I think, for Colt to take this game. It's definitely possible, but
Yep.
it's just, if EG wins the lanes, there's nothing complexity can do to change the status quo.
Okay, you saw from the synergies, they're pretty even, the threats are pretty even as well. Which way is it going, Fog?
I love Morphling and I love the Kunkka last pick. I think Kunkka dominates Invoker in the mid lane, so I'm gonna go EG.
Trent?
I'll stick to the gun. Sure, why not? Complexity, I could see it working. I'm not gonna say it's easy, but let's see if Snaking can have another great game, because he proved me wrong in the battle already.
If they play better, I'd be with you, but I think EG's gonna take this.
Okay, 2 for EG, 1 for complexity. Seems like we've got our answers as far as the panel are concerned. Let's head back to the stage and your commentary team for game number 2.
Ooh, that was cold, Kyle. He starts off saying, oh, I think it's going to be 2-1 complexity. I'm actually pretty confident about their drafts. Game 2, he's like, yeah, just don't think they play good enough. EG all the way.
Ooh, seeing Kyle root A against his brother and B for EG. Dark times.
What do you think, Blitz? Are you also on the EG train? It seems like many of our panelists are leading that way after a Game 1 victory.
I think so. I think their lineup is quite good. There's a good mix of aggression. I feel like they have shown a lot in game number 1. My only concern is they kept splitting every single one of their series. And oftentimes they look real good in game number 1 and just get stomped in game 2.
Well, we'll see how it goes for this Game 2, as I believe we have a small pause underway. As we figure some things out. We do have, as Fogg mentioned, the Kunkka versus the Invoker matchup. He said that's pretty favorable for the Kunkka. We've got the Morphling. It feels like it's a pretty good Morphling game, right?
Yeah, I think so. I think it matches up well against all these heroes. It really depends on how Limp, I think, does mid. If he can get off to a good start versus the Invoker, then maybe it's going to be, or versus the Kunkka, then maybe it's okay. But we saw last game, he has his own struggles. They did a really good job of choking off his farm, ganking him as often as possible.
And Fly on the signature Dazzle. I have a question about this Dazzle. Do you think the Dazzle is actually like a good hero for this meta, or is it just because it's a Fly hero, he's going to bring it back into the meta where it may or may not belong?
I'm not sure. It's interesting just because I think it's really cool. Like when he forced the Phoenix, right? Nobody else was really picking the Phoenix at some point.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm gonna make this hero work. I think this hero is good. And then everyone just sort of copied it. The Dazzle is, I think, a similar hero because I can see the upside of this hero. The laning phase is okay. You've got pretty good base damage. Your attack animation is quite nice. You've got a harass tool. You've got a heal, but.
And you've got a teamfight mechanism for later on to the game, right?
Yeah.
Weave is pretty decent.
The problem with the hero is that it has the same issue that heroes like Disruptor have. Whereas if you're playing from behind, it feels really bad. Whereas if you're playing from ahead, you get to be in an offensive position. You don't have to be so far back like you do when you're playing defensively, or you get jumped by people that just have more items and you die in 2 seconds.
Yeah.
When you've got Glimmer Cape, when you've got some more armor items, then it's really nice, right? Because no hero can just jump you and kill you in 2 seconds. Because you want to use that Grave inherently to save people.
Yeah.
If you're a Boots Dazzle with a wand at 30 minutes, you're not really helping out.
Right. It did turn out to be a decent Dazzle game, especially with the Legion Commander picked after the Dazzle choice.
Yeah, it's nice against Wyvern too. And the minus armor of the spec. As immediately snaking. Gonna get run at here. Makes a little bit of an error, popping his heal
Press the
first.
attack, yeah,
Yeah.
before the Battle Hunger comes up. So he's going to be matched up against an Axe, Dazzle, and then you add in a Morphling Free Front. That sounds really awful to play against. A lot of harassment. He does have Eternal Envy's Phoenix backing him up, but this just looks like a lost lane from the get-go.
Yeah, and they're going to put the spec towards the Enigma, similarly like they did in the previous game. But this time around, because he's not getting tri-laned, S4 should have a pretty easy go of this.
Yeah.
I thought EG had the right idea tri-laning, and more importantly, they forced the Enigma out of the creep wave, because denying a creep here and there doesn't really slow down the farm, and you don't get any farm, most importantly. That's why he had to go and get forced to the jungle.
Right? Yeah.
As Crit immediately getting aggressive on that top lane, and it seems like they're just aggroing every single game to try to secure just a laning phase advantage. And I like that. I think they're keeping it simple. It's a little bit different when you're not playing without Sumail.
Yeah. That being said, compLexity really don't have the heroes to aggro trend, right? Like Phoenix is quite bad at that.
And S4 not going to get hit by the dagger. Does get slowed, but now with the arrival of the axe, this should change the lane a little bit. So we might just see 3 out of 3 lanes won.
It's funny, it seems like they're prioritizing just getting Eidolon kills rather than pushing the Enigma out.
I think that's a smart idea, especially with the Enigma being such a low level early on. The Eidolon's dying like 3 hits. The dagger and 2 right clicks should be able to do it. And that's why Crit is here to help protect them.
Our mid matchup, the Invoker. It's going to be an Exort Invoker, as the panel expected. I'm sure it'll fare a little bit better against the Kunkka than the Quaswex one, but it's still going to be a rough lane, right?
You need the damage. The Quaswex Invoker works last game just because you need the regen against the Lina. Like playing against Lina as Exort Invoker, what ends up happening is you eventually get shoved out of the lane. You allow your tower to just take free hits, and with her attack speed, she does so much damage to it while you're gone. Whereas Quaswex Invoker obviously doesn't really care about the harass. As they keep the Battle Hunger on him. Nice deny by S4. He's got so many of them, in fact. And they're not all just him using the conversion.
We've seen this a number of times, the melee support paired up with the Enigma. I believe we saw the duo of Undying Enigma a fair amount of times. So any of these heroes like Axe, Brewmaster, that can just kind of like run forward and create space for the Enigma Eidolons to split and then start getting some harassment damage in. You can see Crit's just going at it, man. He is refusing to let up on Schem.
They can't really trade hits back with him. Just a single level Battle Hunger is able to zone out 2 different heroes.
And it's funny because he went for the call too.
Yeah, no
he didn't
helix.
go for counter helix, so. And yet they still feel uncomfortable turning around and putting damage and trading.
It's probably because he doesn't want to trade him the creep wave anyways.
Right.
And with
Seafree's going to take a lot of damage here, managed to get over the trees, but he's going to come back down to earth here. Blake, a lot of those trees open and will be caught. That's going to be S4 with your first blood.
Another early laning lead for EG as this bottom lane doesn't go bad for them.
Now the second level of Battle Hunger going to make it even worse for Schem in his life, but still manages to kill Crit. Crit just puts himself a little bit too far forward, gets daggered. And, well, that's that. It's a weird mistake to see Crit make up top lane. Managed to kill Snake King.
Is a TP gonna come out on the Kunkka, just gonna bottle things up for himself, make things easy.
Feels like some weird laning phase mistakes being made on either side.
Yeah, especially compLexity. And now it's a CS lead for 3 different heroes as mid lane.
Torrent not gonna land. Limp is gonna get a lot of damage on CCNC with this cold snap.
Quite
slow down
tanky,
to Seafreak as well, but they do have the Fairy Fire. And another round of Splinter Blast brings him even lower. It could be a kill if they actually land this Sunstrike, but CCNC
he saw it coming
and still managed to run back out of the right-click damage of compLexity. Very well played by CCNC.
Very well done. So that's gonna free up this bottom lane now too. Whenever the Wyvern makes that rotation, Spec can't really lane there, as EG might just pick up all 4 bounty runes.
All right, well, top 3 CS, all the bounty runes.
Snake King gonna take a lot of damage here, just getting completely zoned out. Whereas the Enigma has the safety of his tower, he can just continue to use the Eidolon spam. He's been given a bit of a lead as mid lane.
Torrent does land.
Barely
They're gonna
catches
get a big
him.
swing in, and Limp is going to take a lot of damage. Now he does still have the Quas regen kicking in as well as the Fairy Fire. Has a healing salve as well if he needs to pop it here with a Poison Touch. It's not quite enough damage. The illusion almost catches him out. Fly with a smart TP away.
Oh, the Sunstrike. He throws it after, but the TP had already gone off, likely to not have killed him anyways. He was pretty high HP when he did go for it. It's bottom lane, we see the harass on a scam. This should be a kill.
Scam will go down here. Meanwhile, mid lane, they're going to try and go onto Limp. They do have the press the attack, pull back. They've already used the Torrent, but it looks like just the physical damage of CCNC is enough to get the kill.
And these rotations from compLexity right now are really hurting them. As top lane, another solo kill, this time by Arteezy.
Hey, this laning phase is unbelievable.
Yeah. Whenever the supports move, that's when EG strikes. They immediately call out, okay, they've rotated mid, they've rotated top. Let's make a move. They immediately get aggressive in the laning phase. This is how you punish those rotations. When the Kunkka gets gone on.
And the reason they rotate, right, is the static laning phase is bad for almost every single one of their heroes.
Exactly.
So they try and move around, change things up, but Evil Geniuses just pretty patient. They are going to be able to get the call here onto the Winter Wyvern. Now the Black Hole onto the two of them.
Both.
So that's going to be a kill on the support for sure. Now they do manage to get the Fire Spirits in, slowing down the damage onto Sken. So it looks like our Spectre is going to be able to get out unpunished, but still, a lot of damage done to compLexity once again.
They've got to be careful here. Scam still liable to die as Fly hanging around this mid lane, trying to see what's happening as Arteezy does not need help in this top anymore. He's done such a good job of zoning out Snaking, getting the solo kills, getting free farm. And look at how poor Snaking is. 15-1 is the CS to the 44-25 of the Morphling, who also has those crucial kills. As he's going to get aggressive here again under the tower.
Snaking will survive this time around, but still pushed away from the creep wave. Thief and Fly, hello. Get some more damage on Snaking.
And the most annoying part about laning against his Morphling is that he gets to just stay at that low HP. He hits you for so much, and it doesn't feel like there's a lot of ways to punish that. They don't really have a stun to work with. In fact, aside from their ultis, they don't have a single stun on their team. Maybe Cold Snap sort of counts as one.
Yeah.
But there's no way for them to really lock down this Morphling and put him in place for the Sunstrike. So he's allowed to just stay at this range of HP at all times.
Now, compLexity is looking towards a mid-game that may be more favorable for them. They have a lot of team fight heroes. They have both a Spectre as well as an Invoker that can scale up. Do you think that they can overcome this initial, very large advantage for Evil Geniuses?
I think it's going to be quite difficult for them just because they haven't done anything to slow down this Morphling. Maybe if the Morphling had 3/4 the CS, I would say, and he just picked up a tower for himself.
And look, I mean, the Axe just zoned out 3 heroes. So I have no idea what compLexity is planning to do here. They're going to go for a 3-man smoke with a level 3 Phoenix, a level 3 Winter Wyvern, and a level 4 Spectre.
Yeah, and these are supports that scale, but in the early game, it doesn't really feel like you're going to really feel their presence. Top
Again,
lane.
Snaking going to be chased away from the creep wave. He may survive. Meanwhile, mid lane, they are going to go for the dive onto CCNC. Fire Spirits
He's away
on
from
him
the creep
as well,
wave.
but
He's just dead.
He is so far out. They are going to be able to get the pullback on Eternal Envy to get the kill.
He didn't even need any help. He just sort of solo killed him. He got away from the creep wave. Limp was on the other side. Was not easy for them to make that rotation in, and it just feels like they're making these desperate moves that don't really have payoff as Arteezy. Look at him just go. He's so unafraid of the heroes on the side of compLexity that he's able to just make these aggressive maneuvers, and he knows there's not really going to be any sort of response.
Now Siegfried has to park himself inside the trees where he won't be able to get out for quite some time. 7-1, 7,000 gold lead here as we approach the 10-minute marker, and that's about to go up even more. As you can see, Evil Geniuses have good control of the bounty runes and should be able to grab, let's see, probably 3 out of 4.
That is such a disadvantage for how early on this game.
Yeah.
They haven't even grabbed that many towers yet. They've only grabbed that top tower. And I think they just took 4 of the bounty runes once again.
Z-Freak finally got spotted in that hole that he made for himself and still ended up dying. And Evil Geniuses start mounting pressure.
Yeah, so you grabbed another 4 of the bounty runes. I think that's 8 in a row. They're going to grab this tower too. It's a 9K gold lead at just 10 minutes in. That is one of the faster 10K leads that I've seen built up this early on.
Tier 1 about to fall. And a Tier 2 at top lane falling fast as well. Evil Geniuses just continue to put pressure on mid as well, as you could see. The Kunkka managed to get the X back onto Snake King's Legion Commander, already in half health. And they could just continue to chase. There's not any complexity heroes nearby.
He's got X in 3.
Another round of X marks the spot, plus a Torrent, and they could get this kill. How deep? Are they really going to dive for it, though? Another X, another Torrent. Snake King trying to heal himself up. Where's the rest of the complexity? Are they really not going to bail out Legion Commander whatsoever? He's going to die underneath a tier 2 with no response from the red team.
And they're going to probably lose this tier 2 tower up at top. And this is just such a free game for EG. 9-1. It's 11K at 11 minutes. 1,000 gold a minute is the lead for EG. It's pretty hard to sustain that pace as the tips flying out.
I'm not sure if I've ever seen this kind of net worth lead this early.
Yeah, they're actually going to surpass the 1K a minute mark with that tower kill up at top. This is what a pace this is. And nobody's being punished at EG for their greed. They haven't even played together as 5. They're doing this 2-2-1 movement, but because of the types of heroes that complexity have and how bad the laning phase went, they can't really punish this. They don't have a mid hero that rotates. Their offlaner is a hero that's very item dependent. Their 2 supports don't really have stuns to work with.
Here comes the boat onto Snake King with the Torrent as well. Again, so much damage with Centaur wrapping around from behind. Good play by S4. Dominating streak for CCNC and another tower claimed.
And top lane, Envy gonna get gone on. And RTZ gonna go for the dive, switches out.
All right,
he comes back
goes
in
for a dive with the Icarus. Will TP out. Kind of smart play there. Limp is going to be caught by the X marks the spot. Again, dunked on by Crit with the extra movement speed. They can run down Z-Freak as well. Z-Freak does not have his level 6, nor does he have the Arctic Bird enough to be able to fly away, so that's a double kill for him.
You saw the smart play by CCNC too. He walks over the creep wave, finds the edge so that he can hit the Wyvern with that cleave. Makes him low enough to set up the kill.
And they can just continue to play aggressive, right? Because they have that nifty X marks the spot TP back play.
And Envy just gonna dive out, gets hit 3 times. And can they do anything against this morph? The answer is no, as they're just gonna watch him take their tower. Snake King only level 6. They need so many tomes on their team. Neither of the supports are level 6 at this point. The offlaner just hit it.
They got the scan on the Spectre. But he did manage to TP back before the X could catch him.
Yeah, Crit's got Blink, more or less. This is such a difference in farm. They're going to go for the Roshan here. The Morphling does it quite easily with the Eidolons. S4 has that Crit Wolf, the Alpha Wolf.
All right, Blitz, I'm kind of running out of ways to say that Evil Geniuses is handedly winning this game. So was it something about the draft? Do you not like the last pick Legion Commander? Was it not enough of a playmaker for you? What was it?
I just felt like they didn't have any heroes that did anything.
Hey, well, Jackie Mao survived. So, hey, there's silver linings to be found.
Like, you need the ability to go around the map and gank. It's so easy to set up for a kill for the Kunkka in this game. He just X torrents, kills anybody with the addition of any hero. Same with the Enigma, right? He's got Black Hole. Morphling at this point, if you give him any sort of lead, becomes one of the best laners in the game because you can just abuse being in a low HP. And so your base damage is so much higher than anybody else's. Whereas if you look at complexity, their lineup is really greedy. You've got a Legion that needs a blink minimum to do anything in this game. You've got a Spectre that doesn't come online for quite some time. He had a lot of his creeps denied.
Oh, Crit just ran past the Courier. Missed out on the opportunity to go for the Culling Blade on that. But hey, that was a cute play by Skem. They all think he ran up into the trees, but in reality, he was right up there on the high ground.
And look at the 5-position Wyvern. He's got a magic stick, and one of his more expensive items is the fact that he's got 3 clarities bunched up.
I'm not sure if he's going to have a chance to use all 3 of those clarities. It's looking like this game could be over very, very soon.
They essentially just have 5 heroes that need farm and can only successfully team fight, and that's about it.
Since DI5, there's not been a comeback by a team with 12,000 net worth lead before 15 minutes.
Yeah, well, this one's 17,000.
Yeah.
And that's going to be most likely a Rax at 15 minutes.
Show us your big team fight. You've got level 6s. The dive in, all right, that is the world's smallest tornado. They're going to go for the supernova, but there's a lot of heroes to be able to deal with it. Oh, it's actually made an explode here. No, it barely goes down. The boat is going to come in. RTZ is perfectly healthy, and just like that, complexity will exit here. ESL One Hamburg and Evil Geniuses will move on with the 2-0.
And not with a roar, but with a whimper, as that was absolutely dominant. That is about as one-sided as it gets. Wow, that was thorough. I thought game number 1 was pretty one-sided.
Yes.
And I was like, there's no way they'll top that.
Evil Geniuses played a super clean game 1, where they were ahead, they built on their advantage, they never made any mistakes in team fights and anything, so they never gave an opportunity back into the hands of compLexity. But here, I mean, it's just so much worse. 15 minutes. Again, I'm going to look back at the draft. I mean, our panel was pretty heavily favored towards Evil Geniuses.
They just had 3 cores and 2 supports that didn't really rotate. They just were sort of forced to sit inside their lane. I'm not really sure how you come back in that game if the laning phase goes bad is the problem.
Yeah.
Because once the laning phase was like, okay, the laning phase has gone bad. What's our play? How do we move around the map? Not a lot of options.
Well, this Evil Geniuses crew looks good. How far do you think they can go through this tournament? With a stand-in, mind you.
I mean, with a performance like that, and if you outdraft as hard as they did, quite far.
One amazing performance here from Evil Geniuses in this first series. I'm sure our panel is going to have a tremendous time breaking down this second game because it is quite the stomp. To the panel we go.
Yeah, that one caught us out a little bit. That one was very quick, wasn't it, indeed? Well played from Evil Geniuses. Let's find out what our expert panel made of that. We're back with Fogged, Trent, and Kyle. Kyle.
I was excited to host the panel, personally. I didn't know if you were going to make it back in time. We were debating who was going to slide over there.
You're not supposed to talk about the fourth wall, right? You're supposed to break that, right? Yeah, no, so
Kyle,
actually,
please continue.
We were busy filming some stuff, and then Slacks just looked at me and went, oh, God, it's GG. That's a terrible Slacks impression, but yeah, we managed to rush back. So talk to us, tell us, what did you see, Kyle?
I don't
Is it too painful?
like this question. Yeah, that one hurt. That was, that just felt like Cole sticking to a script that EG kind of figured out. I stand by. Invoker's just not something that as a team they're ready to play around yet. And I once again saw a lineup that had no way to influence the laning phase. If you lose your lanes, the game's over. And it was like no one can rotate, no one can influence anywhere else on the map. You just get choked out. GG.
I wanted them to pick a disabler in their last pick, an actual like stun to be able to influence the lanes in particular.
Yep.
And I think it was just way too greedy. I think Spectre's already a greedy hero. I think Invoker can be a greedy hero if you get countered with probably one of the biggest lane counters, the Kunkka. And then Legion Commander for me is also just, I think that hero is just very weak in general. I think you can only pick it either if you're using it as like a dispel in a lot of mechanics, or if you're versus like an illusion-based or a summon-based lineup. And EG, they got like the ideal lanes for them. Actually, everything just worked perfectly for them, of course, and they have a Morphling versus no stun. It's just a duel, which even if it did ever happen, they have a Grave to defend it.
I feel like I can see where the logic was, maybe. Like, this idea of, just like game one, it seems like they had very specific lane matchups in mind. Like, maybe they were thinking the Legion Commander versus the Eidolons, and then versus the Battle Hunger. You're like, okay, we can dispel Battle Hunger, we can overwhelming odds the Eidolons. That's a sick pick. Let's go with Legion Commander. But Legion did not have a game. The lanes don't match up that way, and then suddenly your whole game plan has to shift, and there was no audible calls there on that team. They just kind of got sacked on fourth.
If you lose 3 lanes, you lose the game. There really isn't much else to discuss.
Okay, good. Well, someone that does have a little bit more to discuss is our man Purge, who is at the Weatherman station. Purge, what do you got for us?
Well, more about the laning stage. That's what we saw was the impactful thing. Normally the Kunkka has been picked a little bit earlier in the draft, but it was left for the last pick here for EG, and that allowed them to guarantee that their matchup was good. It was going to be against an Invoker, although the analysts were a little unsure whether it'd be a Morphling. What ended up happening was he just does Kunkka things. He gets a bonus damage. When he's denying creeps, he also gets the advantage of quelling. If he gets out harassed, he can TP back and heal. So basically what's going to happen is that Limp can only do so much to get last hits, even on Exhort. And then the other lane, it was looking okay for Snake King at first. He did get some dispel advantage against things like Poison Touch from the Dazzle, but it only does so much, it just buys him a little bit of time. And eventually what happens is that Morphling's just going to get an Aquila and then a couple more levels, and all of a sudden he's sitting around there with 15 armor. And Legion normally wins lanes because he trades hits really well, dealing good physical damage back, but because Morphling has all this advantage and because he gets a solo kill there on Snake King when Snake King made a mistake, he just had this big advantage in the laning stage. So even when Snake King came back to the lane, all RTZ had to do was just right-click him constantly. So at this point on, Snake King was basically zoned out of his lane. CCNC was winning mid consistently against the Invoker. And on the other side of the map, we have a Spectre that's laning against an Enigma who did not get super pressured in lane, and as such, 23 denies from our Enigma. They lost all 3 lanes, and within like 3 minutes, they had like a 7k gold advantage. It was crazy.
Brilliant. Thanks very much, Berge. Yeah. Another clear demonstration of just how far ahead Evil Geniuses were in this particular game. In the second game, they've swept it 2-0. They move on to the lower bracket, of course, and they stay alive. They are guaranteed a top 6 finish. But that's the end of the road for compLexity, so let's just wrap up on their journey through ESL One Hamburg. Trent, in some ways, you kind of go top 8's a reasonable result for what is effectively a new team with a brand new player playing for the first time.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, you're bringing Skem in for the first time. There were visa issues getting them both to boot camps in Canada as well as to the team house in NA, so they kind of got like double, it's like Canada and NA are different between Canada and the USA, but I swear I'm a geography major, I promise. But basically, you can't have them playing together, and so they had to use a bunch of different stand-ins, and as great as Jo was, and the time they had with Fear, you know, you picked this guy for a reason, and I think he did show that here at Hamburg. I think he's one of those standout players, despite the fact that they didn't have the best run here at the tournament. So that is something that's very positive for them moving forward towards the minor.
Yeah, definitely things to look forward to for compLexity. Also something to look forward to for our next guest, because we'd like to welcome Mr. Arteezy to talk to us on the desk. Artur. Come in, Artur.
Hi.
How you doing?
I'm doing well, you know, fast game.
Yeah, fast game. Always nice to have a quick game, Artur, isn't it?
Yeah, actually it's very relaxing, but now we have to wait for the rest of the day and then play tonight.
I felt like you've had a couple of chill games here.
Honestly, the group stage was not chill, but so far the main event, it's pretty chill. You know?
Yeah.
I had a nice lane every game so far.
Yeah, just chilling out there.
Just chilling.
Yeah, good stuff. We've got 3 other members on our panel. I'm sure they've all questions for you as well. Kyle? Any questions for Arteezy?
I mean, I don't know. It felt like he said everything. It just, I don't think Arteezy even broke a sweat. Am I right?
I mean, when I have a nice lane, I'm kind of just chilling. I don't say much. I just kill people, and then we win. You know, I don't have to do anything.
Did you feel that it was going to be that ridiculously brutal into the start of that game? Because that was one of the most one-sided matches that you're going to see on LAN.
I think it's how Cole plays, so I feel maybe you shouldn't take it too lightly. They always play a very scale late game, but they did go overboard, and we managed to punish it.
What do you think of Skem overall as a player? It's his first showing on a LAN.
I think I can definitely see some of the strengths of Jackie Mao. He's got some cool item builds. I like his TB. I think he's a fairly consistent player so far. I haven't seen him feed or anything or do anything crazy. So it's always nice to have some kind of reliability, especially if you have Jackie Mao on your team.
And what's it like with CCNC instead of Sumail? Like, in what ways is this an upgrade?
Well, I think we had to definitely change some of our ideas of the game. Not in a bad way, it's just that it's a different player. So we spent the group stage trying to figure that out. I think we're on the right path right now. But obviously it'd be nice to have Sumail, the full team. But CCNC is doing well.
Good stuff. Thank you very much. Artur, we'll let you go, and you can do some more chilling, because I don't think you've had enough.
I need some coffee.
All right. Okay. We'll let you go. Thank you very much for joining us. Always a pleasure to have Arteezy on the show. And yeah, congratulations to him. His teammates, of course, Evil Geniuses do make the top 6. Let's get some final thoughts from our gents on that. Again, when you say compLexity top 8 fold, you probably look at EG with a stand-in. Top 6 seems okay, but can they go any further?
I don't know. I mean, with the way that they just looked right now, more than likely, but they've got a bit of a wild card that they're playing up against next, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's EG secret. I feel like
that's
hype.
I think I like that matchup.
I've seen that before. I'd say this is the real El Clasico nowadays. Alliance and Na'Vi more. You don't see them match up against each other very often anymore, unfortunately, especially on LAN. But EG Secret, this has been a staple at ESLs going all the way back to that epic final in Frankfurt, 2016? 15? I don't remember.
Possibly.
Ask him.
Yeah, possibly. It's one of those things I have to hand, usually, but not this occasion. 15.
Really?
Yeah,
Wow.
it was 15, and it was 3-1 a secret that day.
It all blurs together, man.
So much time played at the same time. Good stuff. Thank you very much, gents. Right then, time for us to take a break, pay some bills here in Hamburg. But don't go too far away. There's still plenty more action to come for Dota 2. Next up, it's the boys from Brazil with a couple of mates of Pain Gaming. They go live against Forward. Who's making it through to the lower brackets? We'll find out very shortly.